All right, all right, all right. Welcome to Communication Law and Ethics. Yes, this is me, Bob Berglund. Welcome to the class. I'm not recording my face here because, hey, who wants to watch an old man talking? And mainly because, hey, I didn't want to shower today. I'm enjoying this snow day just as you are. So hope it's been a great day. I'm going to be talking today briefly, again, trying to just go over the syllabus, some tips for the class, a little bit on the schedule, and then in a separate video, I'll briefly give a background of the First Amendment. So this will be the first of two videos. So as far as the syllabus, before we get into that, I just want to mention that I love all my classes and love them all for different reasons. What I love about this class is that, number one, it is current. Okay, so we're going to be looking at things, yes, that are obviously in the book, but there's been a lot of exciting things happening, a lot of scary things happening as well in the field of media law and ethics just over the last year since the book was published. And so the fact that this is an evolving field, ever-changing field, keeps me on your toes. Hopefully keep you on your toes as well. So that's one of the reasons I love this class. The other is that it's very practical. And that, I mean that not in so much the sense that, this is going to help you get a job. So many of your other classes do that. And so many of your other classes help prepare you to get a job. It's practical in that this is the class that is going to keep you from getting fired. Once you've got that job, you want to keep it. And this class is going to give you, again, the background of obviously communication ethics, but especially the law, the things that might get you in trouble, the things that might get you sued, the things that might get you fired. And so hopefully this class serves to prevent some of those things. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get into the syllabus. So this is a tentative syllabus. There'd be a couple things I'm still going to change, but just want to give you the introduction here. So first of all, again, we're in Wells 232. My office is right next door in 236. My office hours, same as last year, 1 to 4 p.m. on Monday and Wednesday, and then after class on Tuesday. So by all means, encourage you throughout the semester, if you need help, if you're not understanding some things, by all means, please stop by. I'd be happy to answer questions. Those are my posted office hours. I'd be happy to meet with you at other times as well. So what is this study? What does this class study? Obviously, the ethics and law. Okay, so mass media, libel and slander, defamation are the two big things, obscenity, pornography. We spend a chapter about those things. Obviously, licensing, invasion of privacy issues, gets into copyright, FCC regulations, etc. So again, pretty much covers all of the aspects that all of you will be interested in. I do give a warning, it is more focused on journalism. So those of you in multimedia journalism and sports media, the focus is a little bit more geared that way, but it covers a lot of the ground that all of you, whether you be in broadcast, whether you be in digital media or agricultural media, covers those things that, again, are going to be very important for you as well. So advertising and social media and the other fields as well. So you see there listed the book. Hopefully you all have it. As I mentioned, in our class files is a PDF of the first chapter, just in case, because of snow or whatever, you didn't get a copy of the book. But definitely get a copy of the book. You're going to be using it extensively throughout the course of the semester. So some objectives, obviously, learn techniques involved with legal research, basically to giving you an understanding of how the political system, and especially, of course, the judicial branch, work. And so some of you may have a good background on that. Some of you may have vague memories from your political science classes, but it's to give you an understanding of how the legal system here works in the United States. So obviously the salient cases, so the main Supreme Court cases as well as appellate court cases, and to, taking these abstract principles, these cases, and applying to how does this fit you? What are some things that you're going to need to consider as you do your job. So we are going to talk about ethics as well, of course. As far as the class discussion, basically this is, as opposed to a lot of your other classes, this is primarily a lecture and discussion based class. So expect that. Again, a lot of your other classes, I love teaching them more hands-on doing classes. This is one of those classes that, well, we'll do some other activities and try and mix it up a little bit. A lot of it will be based on lecture and discussion. So as far as the main assignments, this is the thing you're most interested in, of course. And the biggest thing is reading as the quizzes and the tests. So, that is, again, not my favorite class. I don't expect this necessarily be your favorite class, although I hope it's maybe a little bit more fun than you anticipate. But this is a class where we're going to have to do a lot of reading. So I know those of you who've had me before know that I'm not a reading-centered professor, but in this class, that is a must. This is a law class primarily. We do, again, spend some time on ethics, but this is primarily law. And if you're going to go into the field of law or understand the law, you need to do a lot of reading. And so I guess, let me make that crystal clear from the very beginning. You're going to have to be doing the readings. And so I do have quizzes here. I found, again, I'm not a fan of those, not generally a fan of tests, but that I've found is the most effective way to maximize the learning that you do in this class. Okay, so expect before the class periods to have read the chapters. If you look at the textbook, you can see there are 16 chapters. We're going to go over most of them. It's a lot of reading, but it's necessary. So expect at the beginning of each chapter segment, we cover roughly a chapter per week that we'll have a quiz. So do expect those quizzes. You'll need to read beforehand. We'll then have, again, a midterm. We'll have a final. Those will be worth 50 points. I do want to note, as far as the quizzes, we will be able to drop at least one. In the past, we have dropped 2 and sometimes 3 of your quiz scores. And so you can bomb them, you can miss that day, whatever. But know that you have some grace, I guess, in terms of that. Okay, so midterms and finals. Obviously, we're going to be doing, as you can see here, a presentation. So you're going to pick a topic that you're interested in. I'll go over this in much greater depth later in the semester. You're going to give a presentation on an ethical legal issue in your field that you want to take more of a deep dive in, that you can help educate your classmates in. And we'll have position papers on ethics and law. Well, essentially, again, a legal brief is what it's called for in the legal profession. So you're going to be using cases to basically support a position. We will have class participation scores as well, and then we'll have a few other smaller assignments and discussions and things like that. But as you can see, the bulk of the score is the midterm, the final, and those quizzes. So the main topics, again, you can look through the table of contents in your book, but we're going to be spending about a month on the First Amendment and defamation, so libel and slander, again, invasion of privacy, Freedom of Information Acts, and sunshine laws, get into the shield laws. We'll get a little bit into the Sixth versus First Amendment, free press versus fair trial issues. And obviously copyright is going to be a big part. We're going to talk about advertising. I know we probably have some advertising people in here, some of those regulations, as well as regulations centered on the telecom industry and broadcast. So, and obviously too, supplementing that with some codes of ethics, talking about the codes of ethics in the various fields. So getting on participation. So we'll have a midterm, you'll have 10 points at midterm, 10 points at final that are going to go over, that are going to talk about participation, that are going to be evaluating participation. So basically, it's going to be a key in this class to be able to be contributing to the class discussion. So the more you contribute, higher your points are. So just do expect to be an active member of the class. Okay. A few other things here. Obviously, academic integrity. I did have an incident last semester with cheating. Obviously, that is looked upon very, very strongly here in this class, especially a class about law and ethics. And if you're essentially breaking the rules of this class, breaking the law of this class, and breaking every ethical standard in cheating in one way or another, that is grounds for failure of the course. So do not, there will be temptations, I'm sure, especially if you haven't read your chapter well enough. Just take the point hits. It's much better than having to fail the class again and a possible report to the provost. Okay, so the other ones mainly have here the standard boilerplate stuff. The attendance policy. So guess what? I'm going to let you guys determine the attendance policy. So in class on Thursday, we're going to invoke democracy, and you guys are going to figure out what attendance policy that you would like to have for this class. Okay. Now, to make up quizzes, you will need to have, I will have you be required to have documentation for any missed absences there in order to make up a quiz. Again, if you have to miss, if your car doesn't start or whatever, you will be able to drop again 1 to 2 or more of your quizzes. So don't stress about that. I do want to mention, as far as the quizzes too, we will be doing lockdown browser for most all of those. So expect have your computer charged, make sure your lockdown browser is working fine. So next, going to get into the schedule just really briefly. Give me just a second here as I bring up the schedule. So this is the schedule from last semester. And again, this is not finalized. I'm still working on perhaps getting another guest speaker, as well as we're going to need to finalize a little bit later in the semester, the presentation schedules, because how many presentations we have certain days may affect how much ground we're able to cover on that day. So this is a little bit flexible, but I did want to give you an idea just of the general pacing from last semester. So as you can see, we spent a whole bunch of time talking about the First Amendment. So the first month focused on the First Amendment issues, including student media law, which we're going to spend an extra amount of time. If you can see here, we have Tinker. So some of you may be familiar with the Tinker versus Des Moines School District Supreme Court ruling that was been critical in establishing student First Amendment rights. And so we actually was able to have Mary Beth Tinker speak to a class a couple semesters ago. We recorded that, so we'll be actually hearing from a Supreme Court plaintiff in that case. The other one, some of you guys are familiar with Hazelwood v. Kuhlmeyer, which was a high school freedom of the press issue. And for that, I was able to have my friend Kathy Kuhlmeyer, the plaintiff in that case, come speak. So we'll be listening to her as well. So we're spending a lot of time there. Usually we're going to be spending between 1 to 2 class periods on a chapter. Sometimes, again, just one. Sometimes we'll be spending 2. So you'll be needing, before each of these class periods, where you see, for example, chapter 4, 5, and 6 here, before each one of those, you'll need to have read the chapter, be ready for a quiz. Okay, so you'll have ample notice before each one of your quizzes. So you can see then after that we'll have the midterm, get into invasion of privacy and false light issues, get into the Freedom of Information Act, okay, and then things like the Shield Law, getting onto obscenity and pornography, copyright, advertising, and then of course telecom law, especially as it relates most recently to the internet. So that is the general schedule that we'll be following. Again, typically 1 to 2 class periods per chapter. So again, there's 15 weeks in the semester, 16 chapters. So it's going to average out to be, one chapter per week. Sometimes, again, less, sometimes more. So I want to also share with you just some tips from past semesters. So I encourage you to read over these. So one of the final questions, actually the final question for the final exam, it was an essay question saying, hey, give some tips to your classmates next semester. What are some tips that you would have that you wished you had had at the very beginning of the semester? Okay, so what tips would you give the students, well, that would give you guys, the students this semester? So just again, encourage you to read through these. I'm going to skim some of these really quickly here. The biggest thing is to take notes. Okay, so in fact, while most of the quizzes will not be open notes, I do give a couple of those, but regardless, the taking of notes, and here I'm saying handwritten notes. So for the open note quizzes, these are still lockdown browser. Okay, and so as a result of that, these need to be handwritten notes. Okay, so I'm not allowing for those printouts or photocopies, things like that. So take notes, have a notebook, as I mentioned, have a notebook, take notes throughout the course of the semester, take notes in class, take notes as you read the chapter. Those notes are going to be super helpful as you take the quizzes and also, of course, reviewing for your midterm and your final. Okay, so many of these tips are exactly that. Take good notes as you go through and read. Again, obviously going to class, being in class, that is where, I mean, you're going to read the chapters, hopefully understand them pretty well, but it's in our class time that, again, hopefully you'll understand them even more, can ask questions, things like that. So the tips that are repeated over and over again in these tips are go to class, take good notes. Okay. And the other one, of course, read the effing book. Okay. So some of these chapters are longer, so do allocate time. And again, this class is different than most of the ones that you have had up till now, and except for those of you who've had theories, perhaps I might have have good preparation there, but you're going to have to read. So again, read the book, take good notes. Yes, pay attention in class. So recognize that while the quizzes and tests will primarily be from the book, okay, so I supplement that with current stuff, again, extra stuff. So on your midterm, on your final, very well could be additional material. So be sure to take good notes in class. So some other tips, several students commented to make friends in the class, form study groups, use yourself. Obviously, you can't cheat in class, but use those study groups to help you, especially when it comes time to prepare for the midterm and the final. One of the students noted, don't stress too much over the quizzes, because if you have 3 to 4 bad scores, you can still get a solid grade. So, and indeed, I've had numerous students who have failed the first 2 or 3 quizzes, but ended up with very good scores. So don't stress out about it if you bomb a quiz or 2. Okay. Again, as you go through here, stay engaged, go to class. Mentioning too, so when it comes time for the presentations, definitely stop in and see me, get some feedback on your presentation before you give it, and don't procrastinate when it comes time for your presentation. And as a student shared, I didn't practice much and was left stuttering, leaving out keynotes, etc. So make sure to prepare well when it comes time for that presentation. Okay, so again, read over these other ones. Don't, this is a great one. Don't wing it. Don't blow off the chapter. It will always go horribly wrong. That's true. Definitely, again, participate in discussion. Okay. So again, I'll let you read through all these tips. These are all good bits of advice as you go through. Okay. So I will go ahead and stop there. And just to, again, make sure to read over chapter 1, be ready for a quiz on Thursday. So take good notes as you read. a couple tips as for the quizzes here before I go. So number one, obviously, it's a guessing game. What is Berglund going to quiz me over? It is usually not that minutia. It is the main points from the chapter. So again, if there are bolded words, write them down. Give a brief definition in your notes. Those bolded words, the main key points. Okay, so look at the table of contents. What are the main and the main bolded headings? So bolded words, those bolded headings. Okay, and of course, too, with that are going to be the main cases. So in each chapter, there's usually a couple main Supreme Court cases that have guided this area of media law. So know those cases. So know the names of them, and especially, for example, what the key findings, what the key rulings were in those cases. So good luck. Again, hope you had a great snow day. And again, be sure to watch the second part, the introduction to media, to the First Amendment. Take care, guys.